for that split second just before falling, we will find what we're looking for. Lauren O believes she can levitate. She believes that powerful magnetic fields are generated from the strength of collective will. She also claims to be a member of an activist group called Leaden Raven. The delusions of Lauren O have been well studied. Experts agree that her psychosis was triggered by a disturbing dream loop in which she saw herself repeatedly falling to death. In a hypnosis session, Lauren O recalled how she learned to levitate after having visions of St. Joseph of Cupertino, the patron saint of students and cosmonauts. Soon after, Lauren became a great admirer of Yuri Gagarin. Gagarin was a Soviet cosmonaut and the first human to journey into space. It was a period when the Soviet Union enjoyed economic growth and soaring prosperity. Gagarin was a national hero, but he died when his fighter plane crashed. It was the year 1968. In the same year, films of Nina Kulagina levitating inanimate objects were shown at the first Moscow International Conference on Parapsychology. Her abilities made her a potential weapon in the Cold War interspace race between the Soviet Union and the United States. Kulagina's telekinetic abilities appeared after a psychic seizure. She saw the world turning into a strange theater where nobody knew what was true or what was fake. From then on, Kulagina is said to have stopped believing in external realities. She focused on developing her psychic skills so that one day she will have control over all shape-shifting truths. Founded by the great funambulist Vern Andra, Leaden Raven was an anarchist group comprised of vaudeville performers from diverse racial backgrounds. These individuals were outsiders, marginalized by their differences. For Andra, levitation is a way of life, a balance between opposing forces. Levitation believers know they must tread carefully on that line between lightness and heaviness, between risk and safety. Their daring confrontation with danger is a defiant act against the state. Being in this liminal space is the only way to survive in the topsy-turvy world. Andra later became a film actress in Germany and brought Leaden Raven to Europe. She introduced the practice of levitation to the experimental filmmaker Hans Richter, who in turn spread the idea to fellow artists in Paris. Leaden Raven slowly gained popularity. Today, artists are still known to join the group. The rise of Leaden Raven owed much to the counterculture movement that flourished in the 1960s. The Youth International Party, or the Yippies, called for the making of a new nation by creating food co-ops, free clinics, and free schools. In 1967, the Yippies with 50,000 anti-war demonstrators marched to the Pentagon to levitate the building 300 feet in the air. They agreed to return it to the same spot.
We're going to assemble a mass of holy men marching and bells and drum beating, and the Pentagon is going to rise into the air.
2 years later, a new militant group called the Weather Underground was formed out of the disillusionment of nonviolent resistance. They conducted a bombing campaign targeting government buildings, banks, and a police monument in Chicago. Everything was carefully planned so that no one was hurt. How to sustain a mass struggle when peaceful actions fail and violent resistance risks losing public support. Perhaps both armed struggles and non-violent actions could work together to complement each other. Loring and other members of Laden Raven decided to orchestrate and strategize in both directions so that the resistance could sustain a long trajectory to achieve systemic change. The 1970s saw the brutal suppression of all forms of resistance. Loring remained in Laden Raven. Many turned to the Esalen Institute. Not only was Esalen a refuge for radicals and intellectuals, it also provided trainings that explored human consciousness. Members of the group were convinced that self-transformation was now the only feasible pathway to bring about social transformation. Loring was skeptical about Esalen. She believed that self-transformation could potentially open the way for ethical and political agencies. But what if it leads to the overindulgence of the belief in self? What if this newfound confidence is merely an illusion that will one day turn into yet another weapon of disempowerment? In 1979, Esalen began to work with the US government to establish the Soviet-American exchange program. They brought over cosmonauts, KGB agents, and Soviet politicians to take part in the Institute's spiritual workshops. Some even credited Esalen as having a role in the collapse of the Soviet Union and the ending of the Cold War. time to rise again. In the meantime, we will lie flat, eat dirt, and sleep.